Welcome into our lives.
And welcome to the Expanders Club podcast.
We're so happy to have you.
Join us as we embark on a journey of deep exploration, soul searching, and asking the hard questions.
With the goal of truly understanding the most aligned, empowered, and purposeful versions of ourselves.
We want to live an extraordinary life, and we're willing to dig deep to find out what it takes.
Buckle up. You're about to meet a new version of yourself, an extraordinary one. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Expanders Club podcast. I am your host, Brooke Harris, here to hold your hand and be your friend on this journey of life, of evolution, of discovery, of spiritual uncovering, all the things that we're all going through right now and will be in the future. We have a big year ahead of us. And we have Eric, our favorite astrologer, Eric from the theunlockmethod, on today's episode, telling us all about the astrology of the year, the cosmic forecast, the energy, the movement, and it is interesting. It is a little complex in that it's not just like, hey, it's all going to be good, or hey, it's all going to be bad, or, prepare for this one thing. There's a lot happening. It all feels very productive in that it all feels like forward momentum, right? It's momentum carrying us into this new version of ourselves, this new version of the world that we all can really feel is coming. I wish I could tell you hey, you just get to open a door and walk into that world. That's not quite what's going to happen. Eric calls this a bridge year. So yeah, we're walking across a bridge and it might get a little windy and rattly and strange, but we have some really incredible tools that we've all honed these past couple years, especially this last year. And we have our intuition, and this feels like the year. We all wake up and we all finally admit we are powerful. We are tuned in. We are tapped into something much greater than what we can see and experience with our five senses. And I'm just so freaking excited for it. You guys all know my journey, and you know that I'm a little bit on the other side of that experience, and I cannot wait to welcome you all in with open arms because it's way more fun. It's way more interesting, and it is the empowerment that we all need and deserve, to have that connection with source, to have that connection with intuition, with our guides, our angels, whatever language you want to put on it, with the quantum field. It is there for you, and this is the year that you tap in. And you'll hear that message come up a few times, and I think just keep that in mind as you're hearing about the different energies of the year, knowing it is all for your empowerment to usher you into this big new chapter, the age of Aquarius. But we still got a little work to do. We still got a little training to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is and will be worth it. So Eric leads us through the year. Excited for you guys to hear. Definitely grab a pen or your phone and take some notes. There's a lot of really good and interesting points, a couple of them coming up in the next few months. Again, feels like the energy is good. It doesn't feel necessarily easy, but it feels good, productive. It feels like there's a lot of momentum. And if you're just getting the year off to a slow start, that actually is totally aligned and totally normal. I share kind of how the beginning of my year has gone and how I haven't necessarily set intentions or made a list or felt super motivated to do these big things. And Eric shares that that's actually totally aligned with the astrology. So if any of you are in the same boat, don't even worry about it. We're all in it together. Obviously, the year is off to a weird start. for those of you who are in Los Angeles like I am, my heart is with you. Very much with you. Yeah, it is Tuesday the 14th when I'm recording this. We have seen a lot of devastation and destruction, and we're sitting here waiting to see what this next gust of winds has in store for us. So tonight and tomorrow we're supposed to get really high winds. We've seen incredible community efforts, incredible efforts by the firefighters, and firefighters have come in from Mexico and Canada, and there's been so much support. So I am hopeful that we won't see any damage as bad as what we've already seen. And hopefully it will be very minimal, but it's a little scary sitting here right now. It's hard to put words to it all, So if you're in LA, I love you. I feel you. I feel you. My husband and I have been here for 18 years, and yeah, I feel you. We have a lot of friends and family going through it. We are safe. Our home is safe at the moment. We are safe. We have had really bad air quality, and that's a whole other thing, but we have not seen fires close to us, and I can't say the same for some friends. So our heart is with you. If you are not in LA, I'm sure you're very aware of the news. Consider supporting however you can. I think there's a lot of actually useful stuff going around Instagram, a lot of GoFundMes. It's a really weird, difficult time, and a lot of people just don't even know. There's so many people in need that I just think it's going to take a long time before people are settled. And so any help, I've started kind of looking at GoFundMes instead of donating physical objects. I've started to look at GoFundMes and just giving cash so that the families can decide what to do with them and do with it. And, even a little bit, even $10 to make someone feel supported. Imagine being in a time where you've lost everything, and to see a $10 support come from someone you don't even know. I think that the emotional support right now means as much as the financial support. So all that to say, if you can offer any support to anyone in Los Angeles, please do. This has been catastrophic. This episode, though, is a really good one. It is a great distraction. It is a great way to motivate some of that planning for the year, or just kind of wrap your head around this year that is very much about transition and change and is going to be moving very quickly. So I think there's a lot of information here that will make you feel a little bit more settled and optimistic and like in the energy of the year. Really excited for you to hear it. As always, thank you to Eric. He is so wonderful. The way he shares things is so accessible and really fun. I think you guys are going to like this. And make sure that you connect with him on Instagram at theunlockmethod. Or if you want to book a session with him, he does birth chart readings. They are life-changing. He does astrocartography. He does a bunch of stuff. He did the astrocartography for my whole family. We're moving, and so, certainly before I would make a move, I would have him check our lines in those places, and it's just truly helpful. So if you're considering a move or anything like that, big travels, I would definitely do your astrocartography with him. But he's incredible. So if you want to book a session with him, you can either DM him on Instagram at theunlockmethod, or you can email him, theunlockmethod@gmail.com. We have several other episodes with Eric. All are incredibly useful. We reference a few of them in this episode. So if you like it, definitely go back and listen to those episodes. I hope this brings you some clarity. I hope this brings you some excitement for the year. And if nothing else, I hope it's a really fun distraction for those of you who need it. All right. I love you guys. To my fellow Angelinos, I love you. My heart is with you. Please reach out. Anyone who needs anything, please reach out to me in the DMs at Expanders Club. All right. Appreciate you all. Enjoy this one, and happy 2025. All right, my friend, my astro guru, cosmic bestie. I don't know. What do you want to go by? They're all
That's all sounds good. Alignment coach, whatever works. It all works, you know?
cosmic guru. I want this
Yeah.
like sparkly, shiny term for you because you are so sparkly and shiny and bring so much to the table that I just like want to like, you know,
Thank
I,
you.
I want
Thank
people
you.
to hear the magic around you.
Thank you. It'll come. It'll
Yeah.
come. Yeah.
Well, either way, you are the Expanders Club very favorite astrologer, and I am so happy to be spending time with you. So happy to have you here to talk about 2025.
Oh yeah. It's a big one. And thank you for those kind words. I'm so happy to be here. And yeah, it's almost hard to put into words, which we are going to try and do in this episode, how big of a year of change and transition 2025 is into 2026 and beyond. It is quite the turning point from energy and patterns that we have been used to into kind of this new era of time, which was all led off by our one of our favorite topics of conversation, Pluto moving into Aquarius. And that's really been the beginning of this initiation
Yeah.
portal into some of these major changes of 2025 and beyond. So yeah, I'm sure we will get to as many of them as we can in this episode.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
excited to get into it, and I think it's important that we say, don't shoot the messenger here.
Totally.
Like,
Totally.
Eric's delivering, just delivering the cosmic forecast, the astrology, and I may chime in on, I have some very strong feelings about the energy of the year.
Mm.
Don't shoot the messenger, guys. Like, I wish we were telling you this is all going to be easy peasy. You're going to be floating down the lazy river like it's no big deal. But we're not quite there yet. And we'll get into all those fun things. But Eric, I'm curious, how do
Yeah.
you relate to January 1st, the calendar new year? Like,
Yeah.
how do you experience that or work with that?
That's a good question. Um, Nowadays, I do tend to really honor the new year in the kind of astrological sense of around the spring equinox, like Aries season, when things are starting to build and grow and burst forth. And so, being the Virgo sun, Capricorn moon, kind of like perfectionist, hard on myself, it has felt nice, and it has felt like I've been able to give myself a lot of grace by I do still like to honor January 1st and honor the Gregorian calendar and the change of the year and celebrate with everybody, absolutely. And I think again still plan for the year ahead, and so plan like in that logical left brain analytical type of way, while also still giving myself grace to have this big bit of leeway from January 1st until the spring equinox, when it is kind of like being actually in tune with the rhythms and cycles of nature, and we are nature. And winter is a time that we naturally are meant to be more yin, more quiet, restful, restorative. So just for me, it's a holistic blend of the two. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I think for me this year, I've had a harder time than ever, like wanting to put the list, the intentions, the goals. Like I just haven't it hasn't felt like the start of a new year to me. And I still feel like I'm in a bit of that reflection stage, which for me, I felt like the year kind of ended in November, but like still hasn't started. If that
100%.
makes sense.
It makes complete sense, and actually that is reflected in the astrology of this time. And that's again why it's also so helpful to track things like this, and it's helpful to track astrology and transits, because there may be some years where the astrology does support this big surge of energy around January 1st, around the beginning of the new year. But this year in particular, we had some major changes, transits, movements in the fall through November. And then the transits really indicate this period of kind of rest, of integration. We're going through a Mars retrograde, which
Mm-hmm.
even that just there, Mars being our own action, will, drive, energy, ambition, being that, having that retrograded right now is naturally indicative of a time where we are meant to be more quiet, more restful, more
Interesting.
yin. Yeah, kind of
Okay.
building our energy. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does feel like a time of like, yes, building the energy
Hmm.
is a very interesting way to put it. Like I feel like I'm kind of just like gathering all and
Yes.
remembering all the tools,
Hmm.
and the things that I've learned over the past few years and like
Hmm.
just kind of prepping for
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
And maybe you will tell me what it is. I don't know what it is. And maybe this is part of the reason I haven't been able to set intentions for my year is because
Hmm.
the only thing I feel like I do know from an energetic perspective is
Yeah.
change. I
Yeah.
literally am seeing change in neon
Hmm.
lights. Like
Hmm.
change is coming. And so it almost feels like planning is silly. And it's more like just get yourself right.
Yeah.
Like get aligned, get get in a safe spot, like buckle
Hmm.
up. Change is coming and you have the opportunity to experience that however you are ready and willing to
Hmm.
experience it.
That's spot on. And really that's so much of what this year is about, is preparation and integration. Now, come spring and towards like the middle of the year is really when we will start experiencing this building, this shifting of energy. And again, 2025 is a bit of like it's such an interesting, almost like portal year, because we will be toggling back and forth between like the new and the what's to come and what we've been in over the last like 5, 10, 15, 20 years with some of these longer term transits. So again, um, the energy of getting prepared this year and taking care of ourselves is kind of one of the main macro themes. And that's
Mhm.
actually it, that ties into like one of the biggest transits of the year, which is the North Node and the South Node transiting into Pisces and Virgo, and we can talk more about that when that comes up. Um, but yeah, again, part of why I think it feels so interesting right now for you, for all of us, is because we are feeling, again, we feel the ending of these major transits and karmic cycles that we have
Yes.
been experiencing. We feel it's starting to shift and change, and we also are starting to feel like the new that's coming in, and the new that's coming in really does start towards the middle of this year. So again, it
Okay.
supports that kind of knowing of that building of energy of what's to come. And so yeah, it it's always why it's helpful to like tune into actually how we're feeling and to honor that. And that's why, like I mentioned before, so much of this work of astrology and tracking these transits have like allowed myself and my clients just to find grace and ease
Hmm.
with trusting ourselves, following
Yes.
our intuition, and like acting when we feel like it's time to act, and having that kind of being confirmed with some of the astrology and the transits that are happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think
Hmm.
that is something that's been a reason it's been such a tool for me too, is to help.
Yeah.
It's helped me feel more in flow versus like always pushing or
Hmm.
wanting things to happen faster. It's
Yes.
yes, allowed, still working on it always.
Oh, I mean, we all are,
Like
we
patience
all are.
isn't, my number one
Yeah. Hmm.
quality, but um but I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to hand this episode over to you
Okay.
because I know that you have so much to say
Yeah.
and I want you to just kind of like take us on the journey of
Great.
2025.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the major transits that are happening and why this is such an important year. Again, like 2025 is really, I think, bridge year might be the best way to describe it. It's
Okay.
really the bridge year from um the previous, however many years. I mean, really, we could put it 5, 10, 15, 20, and beyond into a very new cycle of time, like a cycle that is really leading us into this larger period of time, which is the age of Aquarius, this period of time where we are moving from a strong concentration of energy around earth and water signs, which is more yin energy. And that's been going on for the last 20, 30 years. into a period of time which is more fire and air, which will absolutely be about more action, creativity, communication, um, all of these things. So 2025 being a bridge year, I think is a really kind of key note here, and just a key kind of topic to keep top of mind as we are navigating these changes and as we are going through this year. But I love that you just said patience and that you're
I
working
know.
on patience. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that it sounds like we're gonna need to be patient
Yes.
this year.
100%. And I love that you said patience because it's actually even the first transit that I want to talk about, which is it's the nodes are changing signs. Okay, the north node and the south node, which we all have individually in our chart. We all have a personal north node and a personal
Mhm.
south node. I think you and I have talked about this extensively
Yes.
together and also on this podcast before. But the nodes are an important placement in our chart because they show our soul's evolutionary path. They show the energy, roles, archetypes, patterns of where we're coming from. And the North Node is where we're meant to be growing, what we're meant to be evolving into. Now, the nodes do transit collectively, which is why, like, at certain points in our life, we'll have our North Node return, which is like a really amplified time of change in our lives. But
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So the nodes are also transiting, and they've been in Aries and Libra for the past year and a half.
Okay.
Because a nodal transit always lasts around 18 months, always around
Okay.
a year and a half. So this last year and a half, we were dealing with Aries and Libra, which was so much around the themes of um, taking personal action, putting our wants, needs, and desires first, that North Node in Aries.
Mm,
And with the South Node being in Libra, like really examining any relationship dynamics that don't feel aligned for us, that don't feel in balance for us, you know?
that's yes.
Yeah.
So it's so on trend. Like that has been the conversation, right? In the
Mm-hmm.
wellness spiritual world
Mm-hmm.
the past year, for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And again, like these things also apply to all areas of our lives. Like it's not just about like personal relationships. It's like, what is our relationship with work? What is our relationship with our purpose in this world? We
Mm-hmm.
have to think about it in this
Mm-hmm.
greater context as well. So the nodes are switching to Pisces in North Node and Virgo South Node. Now, this is big for a couple reasons because this is actually starting a brand new nodal cycle. We basically just completed an 18 and a half year cycle because the nodes actually transit in reverse. So the Aries and the Libra are actually last in the cycle.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So we're now starting in Pisces and South Node in Virgo. In a year and a half, it'll be Aquarius and Leo, and then it'll get back down to Aries and Libra. So again, another big ending and new beginning for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and again, to bring up the theme of patience, like Pisces is such a fascinating sign and an energy, and I love talking about it because again, it plays out on so many different levels. Pisces at its highest expression is connection to God, love, source, the divine, unconditional love, your higher self, creativity, imagination, the subconscious
Mm-hmm.
mind, art, healing. So again, like these really, really beautiful concepts, being really close to kind of the veil or the ethereal realm or
Mm-hmm.
world. Um, so there's so many ways that this is going to play out. Um, and the reason why I keep bringing up patience is because one of the highest lessons of Pisces is the notion of surrender, is the notion of trust, is the notion of faith. And
Love that.
so, what is the ultimate act of patience is surrender to what is, surrender to the moment. Um, and so these are going to be parts of the big themes that are coming up for us with the Pisces North Node. I think again, we've already seen it happening over the last couple years, but an even greater surge in all things related to spirituality, consciousness, wellness, meditation, tapping into the Akashic
Mm-hmm.
records, astrology, all of these things I think will be an even greater focus in this next 18-month period
Can't wait.
here.
I can't wait.
Totally, 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 totally. So let me then tell you about the South Node in Virgo, and then if you have any questions, just let me know.
Yes.
So the South Node, so with that being the North Node, those are all things that were meant to really embody, to move towards, to really work into our life. Now, with the South Node being in Virgo, the South Node is always kind of this karmic energy. So it's asking us to take a look at any of the Virgoan themes in our life that feel out of alignment for us or feel like
Mm-hmm.
they're no longer working for us. So with Virgo, again, this will play out on many, many different levels. Virgo, quite practically on a literal level, will rule like our health and our wellness routines. Like, are we taking care of ourselves in a way that feels supportive, or are we not? Like, how can
Mm-hmm.
we find alignment in the practical realities of like taking care of our physical bodies and vessels, to feel our best and to also honor that divine within us so that we can be an even greater channel of consciousness, of love, of light, of all of these things. Okay. So another question coming up with the South Node in Virgo is all things related to the themes of perfectionism, which is one of the greatest challenges of Virgo energy, because Virgo at its highest wants to be of service. It truly wants to be of service. There's a real purity of intent in that Virgo energy. But there's a fine line between service and purity and perfection.
Yes.
And they're
Yeah.
not the same
Yeah.
thing, as you
Yep.
know. They're not the same thing as you know. So it's so important. It's going to be such an important lesson over these next 18 months to um, release any forms of perfectionism or unrealistic standards that we have in our lives for ourselves, for our relationships, for our work. And again, embody that highest path of Pisces, which is trust, faith, and surrender,
Mm-hmm.
which is really the notion that like perfection is in the now. It's in the moment. It's in the energy. Perfection is not a goal or a destination to reach. It's in the now. And so I think that's a really beautiful balance of that.
Yeah. And you could almost relate it to like if you're working toward the Pisces North Node, perfection is, it literally is that being in the now, being in the present, appreciating the details, the perfection, the miracles of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
100%.
so I just want to clarify the nodes. So
Yeah.
everyone has their personal North Node and South Node. That's kind of their lifetime journey that they're
Mm-hmm.
working toward.
Mm-hmm.
And then collectively we share these 18-month periods
Yeah.
where we're collectively in the specific energy of a North Node and a South
Mm-hmm.
Node.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yes. And for instance, like if somebody listening has their North Node in Pisces, you are going through your North Node return. That typically happens anywhere between like 35 and 39 or so.
Okay.
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 Um, and again, like a North Node return, which is when the node transits back into the sign where you were born with it, it's a really fated period of time. It's a really karmic and dharmic period of time. There will be sort of this charged, amplified energy that you feel that like when you harness and when you allow yourself to take aligned action, you can really bring about a lot of changes in your life, a lot of aligned changes in your life. So
Yeah.
again, that's the beauty of this work is with the awareness of it, with the consciousness of it, we can harness it in a way that's like deeply supportive to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The nodes, I think, are a thing that are newer to a lot of people, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
as soon as you taught me about them, I felt it's like these feel so important. They
They're
feel
so
as
important.
important as the big three that we all
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah.
So I love digging into them more. I think it's really interesting. You and I have this conversation all the time, how I read energy and you do too, but you're reading the astrology, but they always line up.
Yeah.
Like they're one
100%.
and the same because in the January reading I did the themes and messages, and a lot of the reading, and it's in a podcast episode, a lot of the reading felt like it was also for this year. The three words that came through were courage, surrender, and joy.
Yeah.
And it felt like the story was, hey, can you have courage to surrender and find the joy in doing both of those things?
100%. 100%. Yeah, no, just to follow up on what you were saying there, in terms of like how reading the astrology can coincide so clearly with things that are being channeled in as well. It's another important part of this to remember is like we're basically all tapping into this shared universal energy, this shared consciousness.
Yes.
And so we all have the ability to tap into that and to tune into ourselves to really help find our navigation. It's one of our most important tools of alignment that we have
Yes.
in this lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah, I obviously agree with that. And it's almost like the tools are what lead us to be able to do that, right? Because we could learn and know the ins and outs of astrology, or we could open our eyes and tune into the energy and
Totally.
know how to go about our day. Obviously, the latter is a little bit harder to do at times, and it's a progression to get there. But that's one of the reasons that I love astrology, because it is constantly validating the same energy, the same vibes, the same messages that are coming through from the universe, the quantum, the energy fields.
Yeah.
Like it is all the same. And it's
100%.
it's such an incredible tool to help people, I think, start to trust and hone into their own intuition and ability to understand how the energy is impacting them.
Spot on. I mean, quite literally in most of my sessions, what I am doing and what I'm reading in their charts is confirming and validating so much of what they have intuitively known and felt.
Yes.
And that's why it's just such a beautiful tool to help confirm and validate some of these things that we think and feel and see and know and all of this beautiful stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think astrology has become a lot more accepted, right, in the past decade and certainly the past few years.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, people can trust it a lot faster, you know, and it kind of helps motivate them or move them forward a lot faster. Because like, if the astrology is saying it must be true, so now I don't have to hear it in 10 different ways. And you know.
Yeah. And again, another important thing to remember is astrology is not fortune telling. It is not fortune telling. It is just reading of patterns, of energies, of archetypes. And like, again, with that consciousness and awareness and the understanding of how it like affects us, we have the ability to take actions and make decisions that will alter our course of life, alter our fate. So it's never fortune telling. Don't ever let anybody kind of like, you know, put that on you.
Dude,
you know? Yeah.
I know. Like, is fortune telling even possible or real? Because we have free will in every moment, right? And so you can imagine with a lot of my sessions, and I shouldn't say a lot, but with some of them, it's just like bam, 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 question after question of like predictions for the future. And it's like, it's not that simple.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah, so that's interesting that you bring that up. Fortune telling probably isn't.
It's a
real
reading
ever.
of possibilities. Again, this work, your work, my work, it should feel empowering because it is just communicating possibilities and patterns, and through that, again, we get to take it through our own vessel and channel about what intuitively feels right for us, and then we can take action from there, which again, that is one of the major themes of this year, with the nodes going into Pisces, with Saturn currently in Pisces, like for the first half of this year, like really honing our tools of intuition. It is a major part of this year because, again, we will be moving into this macro period of fire and air, which will be about rapid fire energy and action. Yeah. So again, we're honing our skills in this time period.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's so interesting that the nodes are in water and earth. Like, does that do those relate to each other at all, or have anything to do with one another?
Well, so again, I think that's why this period of time is such a bridge year and such a transition time, because again, we're moving out of earth and water into fire and air. And so I think one of the ways that we can interpret the nodes in Pisces and Virgo is that it's going to help us wrap up and strengthen and integrate these skills that we've learned through this water and earth period, so that we have this foundation, which is earth. Yeah. We have our intuition and our emotional intelligence to go out and communicate and share and take action, which is air and fire.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Yeah. That, clip it. Like that. We all need to hear that on repeat. 100%. Love it.
This is building and securing foundations this year. Okay?
Yeah.
Which leads us into the next transit, by the way. So that's going to lead us into Saturn and this year, and what our good friend Saturn is doing. Saturn is it's a planet that transits about every 2.5 to 3 years. Saturn is the planet of karma, of time, of lessons, of discipline, of focus, and ultimately of mastery. Because wherever Saturn is in our chart or wherever it's transiting, it can bring up these like again, these almost karmic lessons where it's like, we want you and need you to focus here right now so that you can put in the work, you can build your skills and come into your sense of empowerment and authority in this area of your life. Okay. And so that's why Saturn is so important for us on an individual level. I think a lot of people have probably heard about their Saturn return and things like that. And Saturn is such an important planet for us as we are decoding our own blueprint. But in terms of Saturn transits, which there is one this year, Saturn has been in Pisces for the last about 2 years. So there's also, again, been this, Saturn has been helping us have this really big focus around spirituality, around trust and faith and surrender, around finding practices that help us tune into ourselves, to our intuition, and to whatever sort of like perhaps higher power or higher energy that we attuned to, that again helps us like feel like we are channels and vessels. And again, it could literally just be the energy of light and love. It could be God, it could be what, again, however you define it or however it feels most resonant for you. So again, that's been the last about 2 years. Saturn will be transiting for a short period of time this year into Aries, okay, which will lead us into that about 2.5 year cycle. So in May, Saturn will be moving into Aries until about September. It will retrograde back into Pisces until February 2026. So again, we're going to be experiencing a lot of these big changes and then retrogrades this year. So again, that's why 2025 is such an integration year. It's such a bridge year.
Okay.
But again, it goes to the same theme. So Aries being a fire sign, the first sign of the zodiac, all about our developing our really strong, empowered sense of self. Aries is about the I. It's saying is I am this, I am that. And in that energy, we go out and take action on that and we create that out there in the world. And so with Saturn being there, it's cultivating that strong sense of the empowered self so we can move forward into this next era of time, feeling confident in who we are, what we're here to do, and what action we're here to take.
Yes.
So again, this is the integration portal of this shift into Saturn and Aries here. Any questions on that one or any thoughts on that one before I go into the next transit?
No, I didn't. You hadn't shared that one with me, and that feels exciting. Like, I mean, I am an Aries rising, right?
Yes.
So anytime I hear you say Aries, I'm like, there's a little, it tickles. I get a little giddy inside. But I think, we're going to get into more, but I think while it doesn't feel super easy, it does feel pretty freaking badass. Like, it feels like we're going to come out of this year, like, just on top of it. Like, completely different people in all the ways that we've like all always wanted to grow.
Honor yourself. That's such a big thing. Honor yourself, trust yourself, and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
That's going to help you so much through this year. Put in plans, practices, ways of taking care of yourself that are going to support you through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like a moment right now to ask yourself, like, am I willing to show up? Am I willing to show up for myself this year? And if you do that, not that it's always easy, right? But the rewards on the other side sound like they are undeniable. It's undeniable that it will be worth it.
And again, that South Node transiting in Virgo, it's like, what I mentioned about health, it's like how can we focus on our health? And that's health on a
Yes.
spectrum. That's like, how do we get our nervous system healthy? How do we get our emotional self healthy? Like, what are these tools, these practices, these modalities that we can really put a concerted effort into this year, that will help us transition into this next phase. So
Yeah, and it's interesting the move from from Virgo to Pisces with the two opposite directions of the nodes. It's because I think that we need that foundation. We need that health and wellness foundation to then go into the energy of Pisces, where we want to be more spiritual, more ethereal, like,
yes,
working on ourselves in a different way. Like, aren't we so done working on let's just be well,
Yes. Yes.
like,
Yeah.
we were so done counting calories, like,
Totally.
pushing ourselves in workouts, all those things. Like, let's just tune in, understand what our body wants, and like move on to the next thing.
And again, I think you just said that perfectly. That can be some of that shadow side of Virgo, which is that perfectionism. Like, this isn't like about health for unrealistic, or unhealthy beauty standards. This is like real health as defined by each individual person.
Yes.
On multiple levels, not just the physical, but also the energetic, the emotional, the spiritual, all of it,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's exciting.
Very, very, very exciting. Okay, so that's going to lead us into one of the next big changes of this year. This is going to be our good friend Jupiter. And Jupiter is actually our good friend.
I love Jupiter.
Jupiter. Yes, you have a very fun Jupiter in Aquarius. Which, by the way, I just want to take a pause for a second. Like, part of why transits are so important, like what I'm talking about in terms of like the signs that they're changing into, that's important for all of us collectively. But the way that anybody that is listening to this right now, also look at where these signs or these planets will be affecting or falling into your chart, because this will give you another deeper layer of information about how these transits will be affecting you personally. So like you just said, you're an Aries rising, so Saturn will be crossing over your rising and into your first house, and Aries is traditionally ruled by the first house, so it'll be really supported there for you. If somebody has like an Aries 7th house, which rules relationships, we'll know that Saturn will also be coloring like that area of their life as well. So always just check in on your own personal chart where these signs and these planets will be transiting. Back to our good friend Jupiter. Jupiter is a benefic. Jupiter rules luck, abundance, blessings, optimism, amplification. It rules really where we are blessed with certain gifts in this lifetime. So again, wherever Jupiter is transiting and wherever it's hitting in our chart, it's almost like the cosmic spotlight. It's shining a light on that area of our chart or of our life. Yeah, so Jupiter has been in Gemini for about the last 6 or 7 months. That has been an amplification on our voice, on our throat chakra, on speaking, writing, teaching, communication. A big theme that I've seen come up during this time is, yes, not only like people that have been working on unlocking and unblocking their voice, but also this kind of more esoteric notion of Gemini, which is that what are the thoughts, the stories, the narratives that we have looping in our mind?
Yes.
And to really use this time to examine that on a deep level and just be able to sift through them. Like, oh, where'd that story come from? Where, like, what point in my life did that come from? Who did that come from? And really being able to identify these things in a powerful way, so that again, through the awareness and the consciousness of them, we do have the ability to rewrite that story, to rewrite that narrative, and therefore change our perspective and change our mindset. And again, create real change in our lives. Okay.
Yes.
So it's been a fun one. I will say, I think also like Gemini already is like incredibly activated in the mental sphere, and so with Jupiter there, it has led to some amplification in that arena as well. So which is why practices like meditation or body work or any of these things like help us get out of our head into our body to kind of help soothe that a bit. But Jupiter will be transiting from Gemini to Cancer in about the middle of the year on June 9th. And Jupiter is always around 13 months. So it'll be from June 9th, 2025 till June 30th, 2026. Now Cancer is a really interesting energy. Again, a water sign. So we are transiting between these earth and water and fire and air. Cancer is, it's a really interesting sign. Cancer is about care. It's about nourishment. It's about our emotional needs. It's about home. It's about hospitality. And something that I love to say about Cancer is that it's such an important theme of Cancer is safety. And by safety, I mean that on multiple levels, but like, how do we feel safe in our body? How do we feel safe in our lives? How do we feel safe in our home? How do we feel safe in our relationships? Yeah. So I think with Jupiter there kind of amplifying that, it will be a really beautiful time to examine and implement ways that we get this kind of like rooted foundation of safety in our lives, so that again, we can therefore then go out and take action. Yeah. That fire and air energy that's coming in. Because I know for me, I've had periods of my life where, you know, the foundations haven't necessarily been there, and you don't quite have the alignment you need to feel prepared enough, safe enough to go out and make changes or take action or whatever it is that we want to do, you know? So,
I mean, I think safety is such an interesting one because whether it's our generation or everyone, I'm not sure, but just in talking to my friends and clients, I think there is this underlying, whether again you are aware or it's subconscious, this underlying feeling of not feeling safe. I see it come up all the time. For me, you know, it was something I worked really hard on this year, and the moment I felt safe, it did change everything. It did allow a lot of other things to fall into alignment, and allowed me to like have a different orientation to the world around me. It's so important, and it's just something that we don't talk about.
It's kind of weirdly subtle. It's kind of weirdly subtle, or like you said, not talked about, but it's one of these things that can really change everything.
And it's so interesting in a year that we're talking about change to have the support of the universe, of the cosmos, giving us safety, like showcasing that, hey, no, you have the ability to feel and stay safe within massive change. It's pretty interesting.
We are supported. We are supported. So yeah, the big question for everybody to think about as we are heading into this transit is like, where in your life do you feel safe? Do you not feel safe? Do you feel supported? Do you not feel supported? And again, this could be internally. This could be in your own internal system. This could be in certain relationships that you have, romantic partnerships. This could be family relationships. This could be in career. There's multiple ways that this all shows up. So it's important to kind of think about the multi-spectrum possibilities of that.
And I think when you can ask these bigger questions and figure out the answers to them, there is it's like this, you know, there's just an abundance of benefits that come from this, and there's this ripple effect. For me, I'll share this story, and I think you know it, Eric, but you know, after the election, my safety issues came up again. Whether, you know, they're relatable or warranted or not, I don't know. I don't care. I just know how I was feeling. And so I made the choice, I just asked what would make me feel safe. And it was like, hey, if I could physically protect myself, right? Yeah. Which again, maybe doesn't make any sense, but to me and my body and my nervous system, it did. So I started jujitsu.
100%.
To feel safe. The benefits of it have been so many things. One, it's a workout twice a week. Like I am, and I didn't start jujitsu to get fit. I started it to get safe, but I am more fit than I've been in years. My husband last minute decided he was going to start coming with me, and it has been so much fun to do together. So great for our relationship, so great for our communication, something great that we're like learning together. Like it has just had so many benefits in all these different areas of life where I was just answering that one question, what do I need right now? I need to feel safe.
Yeah.
and then taking the steps. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh, great. This solved a lot of other things as well.
100%. That is like such a beautiful, perfect example. Thank you for sharing that. And something I'll say to that as well, like it will show up differently for everybody. You know,
Mm-hmm.
for you, it was like, how do I protect myself physically? For somebody else, it could be like, oh, I actually am in a living environment that doesn't feel safe. I need to go out and find a home that I can root and nest in. Like,
Yep.
again, there's just various examples of things that we need that will help us feel safe. But that is, it's clearly just such an important theme for this upcoming year.
It'll be
Yeah.
so interesting to see how like home buying rises while Jupiter's in
Oh my
Cancer
God.
right now.
I think it will. I really think it will. I think it will a lot because another cool aspect of Cancer, again, ruling the home, it's real estate and everything related to that as well. Hospitality, restaurants, like it will actually be interesting to see like where the restaurant and hospitality industry goes during this year as well, like how they adjust during that time as well, what kind of community building will happen
Yeah.
with that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Okay. So that is our good friend Jupiter. We are now going to be going to Uranus. Okay. And so um this is part of the longer term transits that are happening because Uranus is what's called an outer planet. It's Uranus, it's Neptune, it's Pluto. These are planets that they don't quite affect us in such a personal way, whereas it's like the sun, the moon, the Mercury, which is our deeply personal planets and the way that we like kind of operate internally. They do have quite a large effect and influence on us. I don't want to downplay that. I don't mean to downplay that. It just is that they play out over longer periods of time and they kind of cover more macro themes when we're looking at it individually with us. So this is Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius, which is an air sign. Uranus rules all things change, freedom, revelation, genius, authenticity, individuality. It's almost like the higher octave of Mercury. So whereas Mercury is like our thinking, our speaking, our communication, interpersonally, it's almost as if Uranus takes that to several different levels and it's like being kind of tuned in to different frequencies, different channels. It's unlocking and unleashing our genius, which again can lead to these revelations and these changes. It's really tuning into this higher level of it here. So Uranus has been in Taurus for the last like 8 to 9 years, Taurus being an earth sign. Okay, so again, like that strong concentration of earth and water energy that we've been swimming around in. Uranus moving into Gemini for quite a long time. Okay, so it will be moving into Gemini from July 7th to November 7th. However,
Okay.
it will be retrograding. So again, why 2025 is such a bridge year to 2026 and beyond.
I have a silly question.
Please, yeah.
When a planet is retrograding, obviously
Yeah.
I understand like the language of what it means. It's literally physically moving the opposite direction in the sky or
No, it's more so that it's like the way that it's in connection with the earth is that like it slows down. It's not actually quite moving backwards. It's just that the angles through which like it's connecting with the earth tend to slow down. So like when Mercury retrogrades, it's not that it's actually going backwards. It's just in the way that it's connected to us here on Earth.
Okay.
It
Okay.
slows it down.
So it's like just relative to the Earth's position
Yes.
to it. Okay.
100%. And so again, in the lens of astrology, it's really a time for review, revisiting, and recalibration. So July 7th to November 7th, it'll be in Gemini. So we'll get this pretty long preview here. And then it will be retrograde back into Taurus from November 7th, 2025 until April 25th, 2026.
Okay.
From there, from 2026, it will stay in Gemini until 2032.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So this is a major transit here.
Okay,
Uranus is a very slow moving planet. So That's kind of why I was mentioning it's important to look at where this hits in your chart. So if you have any major Gemini placements, it will be interesting to kind of, to really think about how this transit will affect that. And again, it's change, it's revelation, it's growth, it's freedom. So with these Gemini placements, let's say you're a Gemini sun, it's like, okay, well, in what ways have I been holding back? In what ways have I been restricting my authentic expression? Where do I really need to like let go and go there to unleash and unlock my genius? Okay. And same with like a Gemini moon. Like perhaps it's like, okay, well, where and how have I been holding back my emotions? How can I let them out in a way that like feels healthier for me? Or even how can I channel them in a way and channel them, let's say, into my art or into my work or into my relationship, so that like again it amplifies this area of our life in a way that is deeply supportive to us. So another thing I'll say about Uranus and Gemini as a collective, like this is there's predictions around like what this means and like where this will go in terms of like mass communications and how this will change for us, and will we still be communicating like over text or over video or over AI? Like it's really like the discussions are starting to happen about what this is really going to look like for us in terms of like all things writing, speaking, communication, all of it. So, we don't know the answers to this
Telepathy.
Yet. Exactly. Yes.
I'm so ready for telepathy to be
totally. Well, you and I talked about this the other day. I'm starting to hear more and more about that coming out, about people that necessarily haven't had much experience with this work or in this realm, talking about how they're having these experiences where it is very close to telepathy or some type of psychic nature. Yes. And again, I think we're aligned with this. It's like we all have these kind of innate, inborn ways that we're designed where we're able to tap into these almost like extrasensory abilities that we have, And again, it can be mundane things. It can be things of like, typically we all know when someone's staring at us behind our back. You can feel it, Or we've all had this experience where like we think about somebody and they call us 3 seconds later, Like that's too much of a universal experience to like kind of explain away,
It is. I mean, it's silly to think that our 5 senses are the only senses we have. Like, imagine if there was a 6th sense that you were born and that was just like included as one of the normal things. Like, then you would just have it. And so all it is remembering and knowing and like confirming for ourselves that they're there. I truly believe that everyone has the exact same access to energy, universal wisdom, gifts, whatever you want to call it, right? It's just a matter of like remembering. And then the hard part is like trusting and believing. And 100%. That's what I know you coach people through. And I've had clients and a lot of friends lately that have come to me and been like, holy shit, this happened. I'm like, yeah, no duh. Like, of course you know. Of course you already know that. Of course you're having visions. Like, of course you're seeing that. Yeah, no biggie.
100%. 100%. And again, that also ties back to the theme of like the nodes going into Pisces and Virgo, because again, the more that we trust it, the more that we have faith in it, and the more that we surrender to this understanding that there is this consciousness, this energy that we can all kind of tune in to tap into, the more it strengthens within us, because we're clearing our channel to allow that to happen. And also on the Virgo side of it, the clearer and the healthier we are in our health, and again, health along physical, spiritual, mental, energetic, the clearer of a channel we are in receiving these types of things. Yes. And I'm even talking about things like the nervous system. Like if we can really support ourselves in having a calm nervous system, that also clears the channel up for us to be able to receive these messages as well.
You're so dead on. It's almost like you have to do those things. Like it's not really a choice, right? Like you have to do those things. And so many people are, and not for the reasons because they want to have visions or, tap into energy, but they are doing it because it's trendy for their health, whatever. And then seeing these side effects, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's for some people, it's a little bit of a surprise, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening to me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, I just want to say something interesting. This is a little bit of a side note here. It is commonly known in astrology that people with very strong Pisces placements, because they are so sensitive and they are so close to that veil and that channel and that ethereal realms, that because we're not like supported in that and really taught about that in mainstream society, it can feel scary and overwhelming. And so people with Pisces placements can find ways to distract or dissociate in whatever way, you know? And so just again, an interesting note on that here, you know?
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So Dennis is a Pisces rising, and very much finds ways to distract himself. And though when he says certain things, I believe when he has a feeling about something, or like, I'm like, that's probably right, dude. I'm always like, dude, you're so psychic. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, you are so psychic.
2025 is his year where he accepts his mantle of a psychic.
Let's see. I'll keep you guys all posted.
Yeah, definitely.
One last thing I want to say about that too is though, the like trusting and believing in your gifts or your acts, like someday we're not even going to call them gifts, right? It's just going to be a normal part of our day to day, our additional senses. Trusting and believing those is not only a gift to yourself, it is a gift to the people around you, because like I said, and you know, everyone has the ability to access it. And it's just hard for them to understand and believe that. But the minute what I've seen with me believing and knowing and accessing, like it has given so many other people permission to start to believe that they can have these same skills or same gifts.
Yes.
So I think that's something really important to remember, like do it for yourself, but also like it will have a ripple effect in your community.
1000%. And that it's so perfect, because you're leading us into this next transit here perfectly, which is this next big transit of this year and beyond. Neptune is moving into Aries. Neptune is the ruling planet of Pisces. And it has been in Pisces for the last 10 or so years. So it's been in its home sign for these last 10 years, which again, I think has been, as we've seen the rise in spirituality, meditation, consciousness, all of these things, I think it's really reaching its peak right now. But with Neptune moving into Aries, which will be happening on March 30th of 2025, and again, it will be going until October 22nd of this year, we will then have that retrograde back into Pisces until January 24th of 2026 until 2039. Okay. So a very long-term transit here. But I think the way what you just said summarizes it beautifully, because again, Aries is about the self. It's about the I. It's about feeling empowered. It's about taking action. It's again, another big initiation into this era of fire and air. So Neptune being the ruling planet of Pisces, the more that we trust, the more that we believe, the more that we surrender, the more that we believe in ourselves and our abilities and our connection to self, to source, to God, to the, you know, the consciousness, whatever
oneness.
It is, oneness, the more empowered we are in our human bodies, in our human avatar, to go out and take action and have impact in this world that we all inhabit here in these bodies, you know? So I think, again, obviously we don't even know all of the ways that this is going to play out over the next, 15 plus years here. But I think that's overarching going to be one of the major themes. And I think it's another really, really big, important transit, change, initiation into this next kind of phase of life. So again, kind of reiterating some of what we've talked about here, it's like, this is the year to take care of yourself, to ground, to root, to build some of these foundations, to get clear in your channel, to get clear in your knowing, because come mid this year and beyond, like it's going to be go time in a lot of ways, you know? Yeah.
Yes.
And then last thing I really want to say, like last thing on this, and you and I have talked about this extensively. We have a couple other podcasts that people can tune into to hear more about this. But Pluto moving into Aquarius, of course, is one of the biggest changes and transits of this whole time period. I mean, Pluto has just moved out of Capricorn in the last 15 years into Aquarius for the next 20 years. That is like the longest term transit of all of the ones that we're talking about here, and has really initiated such a change in overall sort of karmic curriculum at this time. And just to put a footnote on this, like Aquarius again is about freedom, courage, bravery, tapping into the most authentic expression of ourselves without, trying to fit into a box, without trying to fit in, without repressing anything that makes us different, unique, weird, genius. Letting that go, letting that rip right now will be ultimately supportive of everything that we've just talked about in this episode today. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like really leaning in, and I think
really leaning in.
We're supported in all the transits and the actions of the cosmos in like getting clarity, right? Getting clarity on who we are, what we want, how we want to show up.
Yeah.
And then just like doing it.
Yeah. And again, like Jupiter being in Cancer, talking about the whole notion of safety, like the safer we feel in ourselves and in our being and in our community and whatever it is, the safer we feel to like fully take off all the masks and all the ways that we've been hiding or repressing ourselves, and fully stepping and owning our uniqueness, our quote unquote weirdness, whatever it is,
Yeah, and like you said, cutting the stories too. I think that that came long before the Jupiter into Cancer transit in June. It's like being aware of the stories, starting to remove them, face them head on. Like it feels like a beautiful, like the cosmos are almost leading us like step by step through our evolution.
Yes, 100%. That's exactly what it is. I again, that's my whole lens on all of this work, like evolutionary astrology. It is that we are souls having a human experience, and we've come into this lifetime to learn certain soul lessons, to grow and evolve our awareness, our consciousness, to grow and evolve our capacity and our ability to hold light and love and wisdom, and to be of service to ourselves and to others, and just to kind of have that be the ripple effect,
Yeah. And I want to talk too about like being in flow with this, like being aware and being in flow with this, like versus resisting it. Because I think that it can be, the way you presented everything, as you always do, it sounds like a really beautiful process. It has the opportunity to be a really beautiful process.
Don't let me fool you. I don't mean to interrupt you. Ultimately, at the high level, it's incredibly beautiful. This macro narrative story that we can weave, and that I think we're supported in, is that, God, what a gift that we get to come here and be able to experience all of this and evolve our consciousness, our awareness, our soul. But like, don't let me fool you.
Yeah.
There are absolutely parts of life in this journey that are incredibly hard and incredibly challenging. And I experienced that. We all experience that. So just, yes, I love that you brought that up. It's not all like rainbows and butterflies up in here, Yeah.
But also, I think a big theme for all of us moving forward is holding different, you and I literally just talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
Holding different truths at different perspectives all at the same time, even if they feel opposite. Like it can be, we are literally, I'm sitting in LA, a place that both of us have considered, have spent our entire adult lives, and it is literally burning down. And I've cried, I feel heartbroken, and it's like, holy shit. And also, I still see beauty all around me. I still have joy. I still, and I think that is a big theme as well, or whatever lesson or necessity for this year and moving forward. Like, can you hold multiple truths at the same time and stop seeing everything so black and white?
Yes, you said that so beautifully, and I think that is such an important lesson of this time. I think that even ties into Jupiter and Gemini, because Gemini is about like multiple opinions, multiple perspectives, multiple ways about looking of things, And so I think part of that magic of Jupiter and Gemini is exactly what you just said, is there's different perspectives, there's different truths, there's a spectrum of way of looking at things. Our conversation that we just had of like the way that you can look at a situation, it's absolutely okay if you like are upset or angry or have some of these emotions or energies that don't feel good, while at the same time being able to view it from a higher level perspective of being like, okay, I can still find some of the love, the pleasure, the joy, the compassion in this situation as well. And like through that, being able to find like the path forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we are living in a very complex time,
Very, very,
you know?
very. Yeah.
And I think allowing ourselves to hold these different perspectives and not judge them will get us a lot further, and not judge others
Yes.
also.
Yes. Yes.
Will get us a lot further, especially when crisis and chaos and traumatic events like an entire city burning are happening. Like the only way through that is to come together,
Yeah.
help each other, unite. Like, so yeah, I think for me in my personal life, it is a lot this year too, is a lot about like, how do I embrace and be in flow with the change? Because it feels, and certainly after this conversation, it all feels inevitable, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to resist. I am going to buckle up and kind of face it, head on, and embrace it and be excited and take the perspective of, this is necessary, this is beautiful, this, I know this, all this change leads to good things.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do, because the only constant in life is change, and on a personal level and on a macro level. And so if we can meet it with exactly what you just said, then it allows us to really trust in that higher level macro story that we were just talking about. It helps us harness the lesson of this North Node in Pisces that we're about to go through, which is, God, I trust, I have faith, I have surrender in my life, in this path, in my journey of where I'm going, in other people, in God, in source, in consciousness. And I'm gonna ride these waves.
Yes.
I'm gonna ride these waves
Yes.
of change as
Yes.
best as I can, Yeah.
Yes. And so you mentioned that this year is like a bridge. When do we get off the bridge?
That's a good question. I think we will be very close to the end of the bridge in 2026. 2026 is a time of like really anchoring into these major changes. Like we've just discussed, some of these huge transits, they're retrograding back and forth between now and 2026. It does feel like 2027 is the time where we are like fully off the bridge, but I hope that's not interpreted as like, oh, we're in a waiting period until 2027 and everything is going to be perfect then. Again, like it's always a change and an evolution and a growth. I just do think what that means is we will be much more fully anchored into this new energy, this new way of being come 2027.
And it's like all of this is preparing us for that. Whatever 2027 brings, we'll call it 2027, whatever it's bringing, like we got to do the work first to get there, right?
Yes,
like we got to hop into the timeline or raise our vibration or whatever it is to get to that place. So like, and for sure, at the end of it, we'll be so grateful we did. As if we all look back at our lives, we're so grateful for our experiences and where they've gotten us, right?
100%. How can we look back with soft eyes and a soft heart,
Yes.
As best as we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are your, like, how are you looking at your year? What are your hopes and dreams? What are your, like,
good question.
How are you thinking about it?
Good question. I think you and I have talked personally about my own journey and path. I was deeply, deeply impacted in a personal way with my own chart by this Pluto and Capricorn transit over the last 15 years. So for me, on a personal level, it has felt like such a major, major closing of karmic cycles, karmic patterns of these last 15 years, and even patterns that extend back to the earlier parts of my life as well. So it's interesting for me to be experiencing that on the personal individual level while also experiencing the transits and the changes that are happening on the collective level, of feeling like this new way of being is coming in. And that's really what it does. Even feel like for me, of like, again, there's this integration portal right now of closing out these chapters, these eras, these patterns, these stories, and really stepping into a new way of being. And again, I've been on this path and this journey for a long time, but what it really does feel like for me, it feels like stepping into my work and my role as a teacher and as a guide in an even deeper way. And I think, again, like it kind of aligns perfectly with some of these transits and even just the timing of my own life and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. And
Yeah.
we need you. As everyone's about to start waking up, we need you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels exciting. It feels intense.
Yeah.
And it feels really exciting, especially for any of us who have done the work
Yeah.
and know that on the other side it's so worth it. And I think a note that I would make, or a suggestion I would make to people, is to like, this feels like a really good time to find your community as well.
Yes.
Find people to hold your hand through this, whether it is joining a group or a club, or I've said this before, like figuring out who in your friend group is willing to talk about this stuff, and like starting a text chain or getting a coach, just like someone to hold your hand through it. And like, if you don't have that, DM us. We will point you in a direction, or we'll hold your hand. Because this definitely doesn't feel like a solo journey that we're meant to go on.
No. I'm so happy you brought that up. It's not a solo journey. While again, there is that journey of like tuning into ourselves and our health and our own intuition that will absolutely be strengthened through relationships and through community, through aligned community. And that's one of the biggest messages of this new era, this new time. First of all, Pluto into Aquarius, like Aquarius is about like aligned friends, groups, communities, networks. And again, fire and air is going to be about a lot of action, a lot of communication.
Yeah.
So it will be about being in relationship and communication with other people, and how that's such a big hallmark of this coming time.
Yeah, I'm feeling that very much.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Eric, you are incredible. Always.
Thank you.
Always.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for delivering everything in such a beautiful way, easy to understand, easy for us to take action, encouraging as it could
as
be,
we can
certainly.
be, as we can be, Yeah.
Any last words for the people?
Last words for the people. Trust yourself, take care of yourself, root yourself, allow yourself grace and ease during this time. I think this, again, this integration phase, this whole year as a whole, it will be about coming into deeper truth and alignment with ourselves, as we are all also experiencing greater change and activation, both individually and collectively. And to navigate that with as much awareness, consciousness, light, and love as possible. And it will only help.
Yes. I love that. This feels like our hero's journey. Like
100%.
it feels like, and like have fun with it. It feels like our like Rocky, I might butcher this. Like, is it Rocky that like runs up the stairs, it feels like that moment. And like, so have fun with it.
Have fun with it. Yeah. It's lightness, trust, faith, surrender will get us. It will get us through at the highest vibration here. So yeah.
Yes, that is definitely, certainty and trust is a big theme for me this year.
Yeah.
So I'm ready for it.
Me too.
Thank you, Sarah. Excited to have you as a guide and a friend on this journey.
Back at you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on here. Thank you for everything that you've created, that you've done. You are a light for all of us as well, and it's just truly an honor and a pleasure to know you and to be here and to share this message with your community and the world. So,
I mean, how lucky are we? How
beyond,
lucky are we? We
beyond.
get to have this conversation in the middle of the day,
Yeah.
and we get to have, help people through these words, and we get to hang out with amazing communities and clients, and like,
yeah,
life is good.
It's good.
All right.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
it's a gift.
you.
Life is
Yes.
a gift. Yes.
Appreciate you, and
Thank you.
happy 2025, everyone.
Happy 2025, everyone. We got this. All right.
Yes. All
Okay.
right.
All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
Bye. Thank you.